Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave, and today I want to talk about the wheel strategy. So when it comes to options trading, if you're new, this might be the very first place you stop, and you may never leave because it's powerful and effective when it comes to options. I know I still trade lots of options using the wheel strategy. Actually, I will list them all right here, some of the different stocks and ETFs that I'm doing this with right now. But I was recently asked about how do you maximize the income when it comes to this strategy? How do you pick your underlying stocks, days till expiration, strike prices, things like that to maximize the income? So I thought I'd tackle that question today and kind of show you how I approach this type of trade. If that is what you're looking for, please stick around. Whoop. As I mentioned, the wheel strategy might be the only option strategy you ever use. You don't have to do something like the iron condor in order to have success. You can get into that, but it's not necessary. You can do just fine trading something simple like the wheel strategy. So what is the wheel strategy? Well, in its simplest form, you're going to have a list of stocks that you like or ETFs, and you're going to sell a put against one. And your goal here is to not have it assigned to you. So let's say it's stock XYZ at 100 and you sell a $95 put. The stock moves along and it never gets assigned to you. That's great because you keep that premium that you collected for selling that put in the first place. You've achieved your goal. That's your mission. It's the end of the wheel. Now, if it does drop below your strike price, so let's say it's 95 bucks, goes down to 93, and it gets assigned to you, well, you're okay because you're going to turn around with the stock that you really like and you own now, and you're going to sell a call in order to generate more income, hopefully above your initial strike price that was assigned to you at, so you can not lose any of your basis and continue to generate income. So that's it in its simplest form. So we're selling a put. If it gets assigned, we're selling a call. And this is the wheel on the bus as it goes round and round. Hopefully we can do this and generate income again on stocks that we'd like to own long term. So now let's break this down into its components so we can maximize that income that we talked about at the start of this video. So first we're going to compile a list of stocks and ETFs that we want to own long term. But unlike, Warren Buffett, where he says it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price, well, we're still going to follow that logic, but now we're going to trade it, right? So that kind of flies in the face of his long-term investment strategy, because when we're trading something like this, we do want to look at it from a little bit of a value perspective. Now, Warren Buffett might say, I don't really care if I buy Citigroup, whether it's at $50 or $45 a share right now, I'm going to buy it because I want to buy this and hold it for 5 or 10 years. We're not doing that in this situation, but we're still going to look at Citigroup if it's one of our stocks and say, it's at a great value right now, where I think I can sell a put, generate some income, and then if it gets assigned to me, I feel comfortable with it at that price, and I can turn around and I can sell that call and feel I can do this effectively. So it is different, but I think it's still really vitally important to understand that those stocks and ETFs that you select, they have to have good value for you in your portfolio in case you want to keep them long term, or in case you just, you sell these calls and it continues to go down, you feel good about that position. So now we've compiled our list of stocks and ETFs. And again, I'll put mine over here. This is just my list. It's not your list, but just to give you an idea of some of the ones that I've either sold a put or sold a call against right now in my own account. So you can have some ideas, but don't start there. Do your research and understand what you're getting yourself into, please. Now that you have that list, we're going to sell a put. But I think it's really important that you understand, probably the most important thing out of this video is that as a seller, you're a collector of time decay, right? Theta decay. So you're always going to be collecting this time by being a seller. And that's our advantage as a seller. So probably in its simplest form, you would say on Monday, you and your buddy get together and you decide to flip a quarter in the air. Heads or tails? And he says, heads, and you decide who the winner or loser is. But you're like, I've got a special quarter, so I'm going to flip it up in the air on Monday. This thing ain't coming down till Friday, right? And because it's a special quarter, I want you to give me $50. And he's like, well, that's crazy. And you're like, no, come on, give me $50 of premium. It's a special quarter. He says, okay, and he gives you the $50. Now, if this was at the actual game, you would always be the winner, right? You would never, ever lose. You're essentially a casino with a house advantage because you're going to flip this up. It's going to land here. He's going to guess right or wrong. You always get that premium. So as the seller, this is our advantage that we get that premium. But with the wheel strategy on stocks we love, that time value is always ours since we'll accept the stock at the strike price. So think about it like this. If we sell an at the money put or call, doesn't matter, and the stock does not move, time just keeps ticking away. It means there is no intrinsic or built-in value in the option. So it is just time value that will eventually go to zero at expiration. Unfortunately, you only hang out with cool kids, so he is not a soccer. So he says, okay, I'll agree to your $50 premium here, but if I am right and it is heads when it does come down, I want to get to throw a dart at a dartboard to see how much money you have to pay me back, right? And if it's on the outer ring, I get nothing. And if it's on the middle ring, maybe you give me $20 back. If it gets a little bit closer, you give me all $50 back. And if I hit that bullseye, or close to the bullseye, I get $100. And if I hit the bullseye, I get $200. And that's kind of how options work, right? Because he's not going to do this and just always give you 50 bucks. He wants the chance for that thing to shoot to the moon and make it all back because that stock either plummets in value or rises quickly in value. So that's the trade-off. But if we do these steps right as we move through this, then we're going to be the collectors of that time. And hopefully we have more wins than losses and enough that we're going to generate income over a long period of time. So a little sidetrack there, but hopefully that analogy makes sense. Just understand, as a seller, we're collecting time decay. So now let's pick our days till expiration. So we have our stock list here. We have one. We look at some indicators. We say this is the one I want to sell a put against. I like to go out about 30 days. Those are pretty simple to manage, and it's going to collect a nice amount of time decay. It's going to start really ramping up in those last 30 days. Now you can go shorter to maximize profits, but it's going to be more to manage and a little more difficult. So take a look at it. Go out 4 weeks. Go out 3 weeks. See what makes sense for you. But I like to go out about 30 days. There are also wash sale rules, and when you're doing lots of these wheel options, you have to watch out for wash sale rules. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But 30 days is usually good for expiration date. The next thing we have to do is select our strike price. So what I tend to do is sell an out-of-the-money put, set myself up for success. What is success? Well, you need to have a roadmap, an idea of what you really want to achieve. I recently did one on SPY trading. I'll link it up above, where I was saying 12% is my initial when I sell a put target. With an individual stock that I feel really strongly about, that might change. I might get a little bit closer to at the money. Just understand that if you do sell at the money, you have a higher risk of assignment, but you're also going to collect a bigger premium. So if you're trying to maximize income, like that question that came in, well, then that's what you're going to want to do. Get closer and closer to at the money, but still feel comfortable about this trade and the research that you put into those underlying stocks in the first place. And here's an example of selling a put, starting a wheel with Pfizer. So I did this on 8/8. This is just one contract. I'm being very selective at this time because I'm not really confident in the rally that we've had recently. So I don't have a lot of sold puts right now because that's just my feeling on the market. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we talk through this. But when I did this on 8/8 with a 9/2 expiration, so that means 26 days till expiration, the stock was at $49.20, and I sold that put at a $46 strike. So that means it was about 6.5% from that strike price. I collected only $33.31, so not a whole lot. But if I annualize that, that's about 10.2%. I'm not greedy at all. Look at that, just 10.2%. So pretty far out of the money. Again, being pretty conservative at this time. But if you look at the trade right now, I collected $33.31. Current value is 15 bucks. So that means I've made about 55% of the premium so far, or $18.31. So a good successful trade right now that I could close out, but I'll probably ride this out at this time, collect a little bit more as time ticks away, since we're in this rally at the moment. So we sell that first put and time starts ticking away. Now, if it just expires, great, we did our job. That's actually the goal here. We want this just to expire and keep that premium. If we do that, we've had success. Now, if the stock starts to fall down near that strike price, you have a couple of different options here, right? You could roll this out and down and try to collect some additional premium and still never have it assigned to you. But since this is the wheel strategy, let's suppose that we take assignment of those shares. So what do? Well, we turn around and we sell a call. But there are 3 different scenarios in my mind and how you could handle this. The first scenario is the most conservative, but maybe the most effective. And that's simply to say, well, I had a defined entry point because I sold that put at $95 a share and it got assigned to me. I have a defined exit point too. So let's say it's Apple, right? And you're patient, you're waiting around for it to come back to 150 bucks a share. So you're selling puts. They expire, you continue to sell puts. Eventually, it drops, gets assigned at 150, and you say, my exit point is 170. So then you start selling calls at 170. Maybe you don't sell anything for a month until it starts to rise back up because you're strong, you feel good about that exit point, and then once it gets there, then you start selling that call, or once it gets close to where you can start collecting a significant amount of premium that makes you feel good about the trade. Either way, you've had a defined entry point and a defined exit point. The second scenario is just to make sure you target your assignment price. So let's pick on Apple again. So if it gets assigned you at 150, then you start selling calls at 150 or 155 or even 160. You could sell above, but you just want to break the rule of selling at less than 150 because you want to maintain your basis and still collect premium payments. And in this way, you're probably going to see the wheel start to turn quite a bit, right? Unless Apple continues to fall. Now, if it does continue to fall, you really have to decide, I'm going to stick to that 150, right? Because I don't want to mess with my basis. And I'm okay owning this stock that was assigned to me in the first place because it was on my list. So I'm going to be patient for a while. And whenever I can collect some premium payments, I will. And the third scenario, which is an option, is to sell an out-of-the-money call regardless of where it was assigned to you at. Now, this can hurt you and hurt your basis. So especially with rallies like we've had this week, I've got quite a few positions with like Morgan Stanley, for example, where a lot of the banking stocks have taken off. And now I've got strike prices that are below what the actual stock price is. So I got to figure what's going on there. So this can burn you, so be really careful. But yeah, if you sell an out-of-the-money call, so again, let's use Apple as our example. If it's at 150 and that's when it gets assigned to you, it drops to 140, 130, 120. So what I tend to do myself is I'll still sell the 130 call and I'll try to manage that position. And I'll close it out to try to still maintain my basis, but I might lose out on the option trade itself. So in doing this, you do have risk assigned, right? Especially when you have these big market rallies like this. So it's not always the right answer. And obviously timing was pretty poor if you had positions like this week. So just keep that in mind. This can burn you if you go this route. But back to the original question, if you want to maximize your profit, then you're going to continue to sell calls against any position that you had in an options portfolio like this, because you're going to want to continue to churn that wheel. And in this case, that wheel is going to be turning quite a bit, right? Because sometimes when these stocks get away from you, that's when you have to analyze it and decide, do you want to just let it get called away and put that money into a different position or a different stock in order to continue to generate the income? But if you're doing this and not tracking your basis, you can get really lost and lose a lot of money really quickly. So make sure you track everything and are clear with what your goals are. And to illustrate this, here's a trade with Cardinal Health. So I have 150 shares of Cardinal Health with a cost basis of $53.85. But by selling this $55 call in this market rally, I really capped my profit potential. But one of the interesting things with calls like this is the person that sells the call and the person that buys the call can still come out winners. Like this is a trade where I made money, right? Because I bought it for $53.85 and I'm going to sell it for $55. That's a win. And I also got $459.30 for selling this in the first place. So that's a win, right? So I'm doing okay. But if I would have just sat on these shares and rode it all the way up to this last price over here of $69.32, I'd be much better off, right? So if we look at the current value of this option, it's $1,270. That means I've lost on this option $810.70. So poor timing, but I still did okay on the trade. But it's one of those situations where you sit back and go, oh, darn it. I probably should have just sat on these shares. So please understand, when you sell calls like this, you are capping your profit potential. So make sure your goal is something that you're trying to achieve and you're going to be happy and satisfied with if you do trades like this. My last comments on the wheel strategy have to do with balance, patience, and indicators. So when I say balance, I want to trade lots and lots of contracts with lots of different ETFs and individual stocks. That's going to give me lots of balance within my portfolio when it comes to my options portfolio. And I also want to have patience. So as I go through this, I think there are times when you should be selling lots of puts and when you should be really backing off of getting started with the wheel strategy in the first place. So I always look for those opportunities in individual stocks and ETFs that I've picked, to trade this wheel against in the first place. And the last would be indicators. So study some simple indicators like simple moving averages and volume indicators can go a long way. So add that to the wheel strategy as you go through this, and you can have a lot of success trading the wheel. So I will add that I was a little surprised by this positive CPI data and how well it was received. So I think we still have a lot of market headwinds to battle through. So I'm being fairly conservative, and I think I've talked about on this channel, I've got about 35, maybe 40% in cash. I'm just kind of sitting there. I've got my long-term holdings that have benefited this week, and I've got my options account that now it's a little bit in shambles, but I still am a little bit of a bear. So I think the market's going to be coming back to me, so I'm being a little patient. So I've got quite a few calls that are underwater right now, right, where the stocks are above those strike prices. But I'm rolling them out. I'm kind of being patient, and I think it's going to come back to me. We'll see if it's rewarded or not. We'll see how it comes. But yeah, that's my position right now, and it's one of the reasons that I stay diversified, and I have an options account and I have a long-term holding account. I can admire one when these things are happening, look at the other one and say, you're the bad stepchild. So if you have any questions on any of this, please ask down below. If you got some great stocks that you like to wheel, let me know what they are down in the comments, and we can talk about them. Now, if they take off, I will compliment you, and if they fail miserably, I'll make fun of you. Either way, I win. But seriously, just ask me down below. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night. Take care. Whoop.